All right, let's get it going here on the Leaf Edition hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jake the Snake Schultz pushing all the right buttons for us. On a quiet night last night in the National Hockey League, just one game, the Toronto Maple Leafs on 2 goals scored by Willie Nylander defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning 5-2. And then 24 hours later, all 32 teams
Every
going.
team plays.
Including your Toronto Maple Leafs against the Columbus Blue Jackets at 7:30. In about 35, 40 minutes, we'll welcome in Jody Shelley, broadcaster with Fox Sports 1 and also Amazon last night. They covered the game last night. So if you're local in this area and went to regular cable through Sportsnet or TSN, you got feathers. Nothing. You got poker. You got
I don't know
what?
what you're talking about. Pokeroo?
I don't know.
Oh, do you?
What did you get on Sportsnet last night?
I think there was some Raw.
If you-
WWE Raw. was on,
Okay.
I think.
You got fake wrestling,
Hey,
right?
fake to you.
Sammy, did you get any feedback from your buddies about a game, an NHL game with the Leafs being streamed
Listen,
online?
I will say that most people figured it out.
Andy got there?
Yeah, I actually didn't get a text from him. I don't know if he watched or not. Didn't get many takes from him. I don't know if he watched or not, but I'm assuming they watched. They watch every game. So, yeah, it was less. A lot of people praising it. It was nice. Seemed like the crowd was louder on their broadcast. But other than that, felt very much like a hockey broadcast. Enjoyed it. Love Adnan and Verk. Like John Forsling. It was good.
No, I'm not saying
Forsland?
like there's like
What did I
canned.
say? Forsling? Yeah.
There's canned like sports sound like you would find, how that fake laugh in the
Enhanced audio?
70s and 80s on the sitcoms, the all fake laugh that ends simultaneously.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that
No,
was
you're not saying
involved,
it.
but there's something going on, I think, in the last little while where you enhance the sound and you turn it up
Enhanced
incredibly.
microphones.
So to the point, if you're in one of the boxes, that you could hear like the sound on a speaker of the fans inside the building
Really?
in a suite.
Oh, were you in a suite last night?
Not
I
saying
was in
today.
the alumni box.
Oh, very nice.
So I think maybe that had something to do with the sound. Everybody says, well, why is Sportsnet's game so dull? And Prime last night was so electric and the crowd was electric.
They hit the volume button?
Same Bay Street people cutting deals down there last night that they've been there the last few years. I assure you.
Well, also, an awful lot to cheer for last night. Of all the games over the past couple of years where you would say that'd get an excited crowd going. I mean, what a game the Toronto Maple Leafs played last night. I mean, they just beat the pants off the Lightning. They beat them up and down, Kip.
I was very impressed
Yeah.
from start to finish, and just the mentality of the mindset
Yeah.
where you couldn't tell if they were up or down in the third period. They kept going.
Yeah.
They played hard. They battled for each other when they needed to. Max Domi gets into a fight that maybe a lot of other players would have passed in previous years with the Toronto Maple Leafs, where it's like, it's not my thing. I don't do that. It's not necessary. So no question, last night was a complete feel from start to finish.
You had Vasilevsky snowing, maybe just in jest, but he snows Morgan Riley in pregame, and then you see him getting the hook, which is something I don't think he got pulled all of last season or the year
14 times in his career.
14 times in his career. They stopped pulling him somewhere along that career. So that was nice.
In that playoff
It's the
game,
same cast of characters.
in that playoff game, even when the Leafs were up like 7-2, or that they still left him in
and
it.
they did not like to come
Second
out.
half, they have a back-to-back
Yeah.
tomorrow night, so they probably wanted to save him for that. But yeah,
Besides Jody Shelley, we got Steve Valiquette coming on,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to get into all of the goaltending scenarios, including Stolarz and what he thinks about his chances of holding on to this spot.
Yep.
Chances of now what probably was deemed a 30, 35 game start. Can it get to 40? Can it get to 50 with this guy?
Yeah.
and also Vasilevsky. And now I for one think that like he pulled himself last night.
Yeah.
Really?
I think there's.
I think he did because he doesn't get pulled. I think he decides he's waved off Cooper before, and Cooper goes okay.
I think there's just an understanding between Cooper and Vasilevsky, and whether it's a look or a nod or whatever. But I think Vasilevsky said, "That's enough. I'm no good tonight. Take me out."
3 of the 4 were pretty bad.
Well, it took him out of the game,
right?
Right, and I'm not saying that Tampa had any chance to win last night, anyways.
Yeah,
but
the
Vasilevsky took them out of the game single-handedly last night.
You know, the Nylander one looks rougher than it is because Nylander makes he leans glove, kind of gives him the look, and it goes through his legs, kind of rattles around 5-hole. But, there's definitely some there.
The Matthews one where it hits him in the chest and he drops it down at his feet. Like, I just thought he was particularly brutal.
Yeah. So. Not great, but, the one thing that stands out to me, I don't know if you saw my tweets today, Kip, but I was just tweeting about the Leafs and what they're giving up. And right now, some of their expected goals against number, when the game is close, when they're within a goal or two, they're statistically, when they're within 2 goals, they're the best team in the league so far.
Yeah.
Expected goals against. And I don't think it's defense. I don't think it's hard defending. I think it's breaking the puck out. Like Tanev and OEL can go back on pucks and get it going that way really well.
Yes.
And it feels like they're just not spending as much time in their end.
No, they're not. And, go back to beginning of training camp and the mentality of just straight lines.
Mm-hmm. You've been saying that.
They're way more predictable now. I think as a group that you feel like we're on the same page. We understand what the thought process is.
And unity, chemistry, great skill.
Less east-west. Mm-hmm. How many times 2 or 3 years ago we were like, oh, what's with that regroup? What the hell is that?
Right.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw a regroup?
Well, that's a great point. There was a time 3 years ago when Keefe kind of just came in where they would take it up to blue, not and bring it back like a soccer team.
Puck possession.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Ruby's like, no.
Okay.
Straight lines.
We don't want to have it in the neutral zone. We want to fight for it in their end.
Dump it out.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and because the Berube approval rating amongst Leaf Nation, amongst my friends right now, is through the roof.
Yes.
People are loving Craig Berube.
Yeah.
And I would like to put myself in that camp. I'm feeling rather passionate recently. I have to tell you, I am back.
Okay.
But here's my question about Craig Berube. I think he's a good coach. Everybody thinks he's a good coach. But how much of this is just the effect of a new, if it had been Todd McClellan that they hired, or
yes,
yes, how much of this is just somebody different? And when I think that, it's did they kind of waste a couple years there, sticking with Keefe when they maybe shouldn't have? And it's not on Keefe, but the new coach bounce. I'm thinking about that a lot. Yes,
and Dupis.
I'm thinking about it a lot.
Yeah,
They should have let Sheldon go when they let Dubas go.
Yeah, that may be the case. There's a fine argument to be made there. I would say to your question, Sam, whoever it was this year, these guys needed a fresh start, one way or the other. So I don't know. You're right. Would Todd McClellan have coached this team and had this much success? I kind of feel probably. It just feels like a fresh start and a good couple of defensemen. The roster got better for me. I don't know, but you're right. Bruby's doing what he's supposed to do at this point.
I truly love the guy. And I've been impressed with him, and I like his demeanor, I like what he represents. I'm just wondering how much of this.
Yeah.
And I guess that's me thinking about the failures of this team in the first round and sort of the meme ability of this team. If some of that could have been prevented with an earlier trigger pull on some of the coaching, some of the front office stuff. I don't know. It's revisionist history. We don't need to necessarily get into it, but it does leave me a little bit upset seeing how much better they look with a different coach. Anyways,
maybe the one question
they look good in years past with Keefe. They've had good records, but the way this looks,
the one question I have, Sam, is they haven't had goaltending like this over the past 5 years. Stolarz is 8 goals above expected
the best
through
goal
5
in the league.
games. He's been unbelievable for them, and I wonder if part of that is the predictability you talk about. If it is easier to goaltend behind a team where you're I know this is just going up the wall. Yeah. I know where it's going to come from next, and there's some simplicity and consistency there that makes it easier to goaltend. So can you give the coach some credit because the goalie's been good? I don't know. But it does lead to questions.
The answer is yes.
so.
Yes. All of that,
Yeah.
what you said, for sure.
Yeah.
And predictability is the one word that I can say I've watched that comes to mind when it comes to what we've witnessed so
To
far.
me, that's like a slander. Like if I'm an offensive player, I wouldn't want to be called predictable, right? And I think for these guys being predictable, it'd be like, oh,
I think to each other and to the coach. I mean,
That's a good way to put it.
The eye of the beholder can sit there and say they're just as entertaining as they would because they're winning or because they're getting key goals at the right time. I'm having as much fun watching them now without the people don't know, but I'm just saying within their group and what is needed to be consistent to move forward, that's the predictability you want out of a hockey club.
As a video coach, I always thought that like we would want the other team to not know what we're going to do. It's a playoff series. We don't want them to know if we're going to be in a 1-2-2-4 check or whatever. And what I've learned over the years, that was my initial take when I went into video coaching. My initial take is that it doesn't matter if they know what you're doing, because if you do it well, they can't stop it. That's the idea, that you have good enough players to execute this predictable system. Say, this is how we play. Go ahead and try.
We're coming at you. We're forechecking. We're winning a puck battle. We're getting in front of the net. We're shooting.
We're taking it to you, and you have to beat us.
I need to know if I'm going to be the first forechecker in. I need to know 1,000% that you're going to get the puck in deep for me.
Right.
How many times have we seen them? How many times have we seen them go offside this year?
I wonder if they've been offside less.
3.
I bet they have been.
In what already 6 games?
Kyper, that's such a great point that I would never have thought of.
It's the timing of it. It's the rhythm of their game. Their rhythm is so much better now in terms of getting in either on a forecheck or even being in position. The thing that stands out to me as much as anything watching the Leafs so far this season is their back pressure is back. Like there was a small window years ago where they had some really good back pressure.
Yep.
And it was lost. And again, we saw it from McMahon. McMahon takes a big hit last night, but it was his back pressure in the neutral zone that led to
the puck up to Willie.
That got the puck up to Willie.
And he scores.
And I'm seeing it out of all of them right now.
Just do your job.
There's not a whole heck of a lot wrong with their game right now, but it's all tied into a great present because Stolarz, when it's called upon, has made every save that he's needed to make since training camp started.
Yeah, he's made some big saves in closer games where they've been up a goal or two that allows him to hold the lead, and then from there they just sort of been running away with it.
You're right, though. It was since the very first preseason game that he's played that he's been
He hasn't had a bad start
locked
yet.
in.
He's actually, the Sport Logic does quality starts by have you been positive every game in goals above, saved above expected. He's the only guy in the NHL with 5 for 5 quality starts in the league.
So, I mean, the one thing, not to heap all the praise on Berube here, but one of the main things I notice the start of these games is how much more locked in the first 5 minutes of these games.
God, they used to lose a lot of first shifts.
And they last
Started good
night,
tonight.
they were all over it. Like that first couple shifts with the big boys were absolutely borderline breathtaking. How hard they were working, how fast they're skating, and it's been a thing in all the games. Think about the game against the Devils. They go up 3-0 in the first 6 minutes of that game, 7 minutes of that game. Their starts have been so much better.
All right, let's go to Craig Berube on our first Kyper's Clipper on what we all agree upon. Basically, is the biggest surprise so far this season. Anthony Stolarz.
Nothing different, to be honest with you. Like I had him as a young kid in Philly, and he's been in the NHL for some time now. Obviously a quality goalie. He had a great year last year in Florida. If you look at his numbers, played 29, 30 games. He's played excellent for us. That's what I know about him.
Here's what I know. He's good.
He's played excellent.
So he's going to turn 31 in a few months. Where you been?
Well, I mean, what's the catch?
Where you been? Like, what's happened?
Yeah.
Why didn't you turn yourself into a legit number one goalie by now?
I mean, part of it has been who he's been behind. He's been behind Bobrovsky. He's been behind some legitimate starters in places he's been. But
Edmonton, Anaheim,
John
Gibson.
and Anaheim,
John
I guess.
Gibson, yeah.
Okay.
But the other answer for that is I have a guy coming on the show later who's going to tell us. Steve Valiquette has the answer to this. This is something that we, I think you discussed with Sammy, that he's going to bring some juice on for us.
Love to
Because
hear.
you're right. I would love an answer on that.
I love watching
But
you guys when I'm on.
You've also said that you believe goaltenders take a little bit more time, that a goalie's prime is a little later.
Yeah,
I think big people
20
take longer to put it all together.
Could be.
Big people. Is that a slur? He's a big people.
Well, we're going to want to hear that for sure. Steve Valiquette. Absolutely. You want to go to a workload?
Yeah,
because we do expect Stolarz to get a well-deserved night off tonight in Columbus.
Yeah.
Let's go to Craig Berube on what we can expect in terms of the workload.
You don't know what's going to happen with the goaltending here, but if he were in a position where he'd have to play, a lot of games this year, do you have the confidence in him seeing what he's done?
I
that
said
he
at
could
the beginning of the year, both goalies are going to see more net than they have in the past. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Man, tough cookie.
So what's the most?
It's got to be hard for a reporter
But
when he's answering
none of
the
them have
question.
ever seen 40 games. So
Do you think he just
What's-
explodes at 40?
what's the most Stolarz has seen?
28.
But not a lot.
So
but
he's not- he's not-
played full seasons of
he's-
AHL hockey.
No, forget that.
No,
Talking
see, that's
NHL.
a dumb thing to say.
No, it's not a dumb thing to say.
They're not games. They're not. He's
Yeah,
not
there's
trying his
just-
hardest in them.
No, he is, but it's minor leagues compared to NHL.
The most he played in any season ever was 47 in 2015, 2016 with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms.
47. That's-
NHL. Give me NHL. He's
28.
been in pro for over 10 years.
28.
28.
Yep.
Is it a stretch for Berube to say that both will see the most games that they've ever seen?
No.
Of course not.
Well, I mean, mathematically, it has to
So-
be. They're the two goalies. Neither's played 40.
Yeah.
So,
Right? But he can see 30, and that would be more.
right.
But can he see now 40, 45, 50?
We've had Mike McKenna on the show quite a bit, and I don't think McKenna ever missed a game in all of pro hockey. Stolarz, if I'm not mistaken, pretty healthy guy, too.
I think there's a little wear and tear there from what I hear.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't think he has a big history of missing games with injury, and I could be wrong on that. I'm not
Yeah.
actually sure that
Listen,
that's the
he's a
case.
big guy. He's been at it for
Yeah.
a lot of years now.
Yeah.
How can there not be, like, we're talking about goaltending, hips, knees,
Yeah, he's played 113 NHL games.
groins.
So the mileage is not, Vasilevsky here.
But what you're alluding to here, Kyper, and what you're getting at is like you are anticipating some sort of fall off here at some point. It's got to come.
I mean, he's not the best goalie in the world.
I don't know
probably.
about fall off.
Are we sure?
I don't know. I don't know about fall off,
Yeah.
but we are talking about going into a new place or a new phase for him that he's never been before on a team that has to win now. I'm not saying it can't be done, and I'm not saying he can't take this to another level,
Mhm.
but I'm talking about percentage-wise, the odds of him now going and having an all-world year, still early.
I mean,
Very
yeah.
good.
I mean, not to be whatever, but like it's a pretty, yeah. It's unlikely he's the world's best goalie, and he's been the world's
Yeah.
best goalie.
yeah.
Probably going to get worse.
Hard hitting stuff there.
yeah, we'll
So
see.
where does Joseph Wall?
Do you think he's going to play tonight?
I would not put him in. I
No.
wouldn't.
No, but
I-
like, you heard anything? Any insight?
I expect Hill to be.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I've come to not expect Wool ever. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't,
true.
I don't
It's
expect
true.
him to be available.
Oh gosh, there's a ton of pressure on them. They signed him to
Yeah.
$11 million.
$11 million
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
Mhm.
Like there is a ton of pressure to get him going too.
I mean, it was groin tightness. He didn't rip his groin, right? We're a couple weeks into a tight groin now.
Well, is
And,
there,
and I don't know about you guys, but like, is he losing the net here without ever?
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if I was handling the goaltenders and I had a choice and they were all available, Hildeby goes tonight. Wall on Thursday against the St. Louis Blues at home. And then Stolarz has earned the start against the Boston Bruins on Saturday night in Boston.
Yeah.
You have to
Will's a St. Louis guy too. Isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that sounds correct.
Yeah.
So but I'm not sure if he'll be available. We'll see how it goes. But, like Borny said, it's tough to lean on him ever being around. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Listen, they're in the toughest division in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Take the points while you can get them with a hot guy.
You're not wrong. Run it. I'm that way with music, by the way. If I like a song, I'll just play it till I hate it. Just run the whole arse out there till he's
Play
done.
it till you hate it, eh?
Just love it while you can.
Yeah.
All right, where do we go? You want your thoughts on Willie?
Okay.
Sure. I mean, it's just going to be some praise, right? I presume.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
that?
it is. Well, I was just going to say. Okay, go ahead. Play the Willie clip, Derek. Clip 3.
Same as last game. What do you have? 8 shots last game. I didn't look at the shot sheet yet for what he had tonight, but he had a ton of opportunities again. Skating really well, strong on pucks, getting to open ice, and he's looking to shoot.
When he's going, right?
Him and Domi are a nice little pair. Because Domi passes the puck all the time and Willie wants to shoot it all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Marner Matthews of line 2 at this point. I mean, you don't see Willie hit a lot of one-timer goals, and he must have taken 4 one-timers yesterday.
Mm-hmm. He was sniffing that hat trick.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, he was hammering
He
everything.
had a
towards
couple
it.
good looks too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed he
But-
passed it to Robertson on a 2-on-1
Yeah.
when he had a chance for a hat trick and
But
exploded off his
Max has had a really nice start to his season.
Max Patrick.
Yeah,
Oh, Domi.
Domi.
Domi. Yeah,
Max.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has. He has 7 or 8 assists now or something. I don't know what it is exactly, but
Yeah. I mean, the worst knock on him is times shoot the puck, but
Mhm.
when you got
But he's
Willie out there and
competitive.
Willie's open,
yeah.
that's the tendency right now for him.
Yeah, he's helping get the best out of Willie, and he is providing that bit of physicality that sometimes you're like, I don't know if I love all the penalties, but it's like, yes, they need
It's
someone.
A little emotion, though.
He's good for them, for sure. I
And
think
He
he's
drives
really,
the temperature up.
really good.
That line is really good in transition.
Yeah,
Like if they pick a puck at the top of the zone and it's odd man rush the other way, they are really, really dangerous. McMahon's flying, Domi's flying, Nylander's flying. Dangerous
they
line.
are. McMahon is like second in the league in plus minus. Those guys are. That line
Yeah.
is controlling the play
Yeah.
heavily when they're on the
Yeah, their
on the
top
rink.
2 lines are amongst the best in the league right
Yeah.
now. So they've been really good. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, fine? You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can do that.
What's that?
Well,
Uh,
you saw that Oliver Ekman-Larsson got fined
Yes.
for his hit.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
When I saw it live, I thought it was a headshot.
Yeah.
And then when you saw it not live,
Yeah, just a sneaky, dirty interference play.
I agree with that.
But you thought it shouldn't have been even a penalty?
I will concede that it was a penalty.
Yeah.
But I do think it's rather absurd that he got fined for that, considering the stuff we see slide in the NHL. It's the bang bang. Like, you're eligible to get hit.
Well, yeah, I know, but you got to also factor in
Like,
a
Kyper-
late, unsuspecting hit.
well, they're both had their sticks like basically on the puck.
No.
Yes,
No,
he's
that's
got
not
his
true.
stick on
I
the
didn't
puck.
see a 50-50, bud.
Okay, so
To me,
Jacob,
if
it's
Gensel
hockey.
hits OEL
So,
there into the board,
It's the National Hockey League, and both you guys are sitting here telling me, looking at me, saying a man at the center ice boards where I have seen 15,000 devastating body checks over my hockey watching career. A man is just skating head down with his stick out like this near the puck. Let him go.
no.
Like, let one of the
No, he
it's not
chips
a
it.
it's not a it's a penalty, sure. But it's a fine is just searching for something to ding the Leafs for.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think, to me, it's not just a typical hit. It was taking advantage of a situation where I could get a really good shot in on
Those
a
two had
guy.
gone back and forth at it all game.
And they're battling. And listen, I don't mind it from
I think
Oliver
it's
Ekman.
good. You
It's
want to
good.
see it.
It's good. You know what?
Liked it.
How many times have Leaf fans seen their team on the opposite side of that? Now you got a guy that's got a little sneaky dirtiness in him.
And every time the
bring
Leafs
it on.
and every time the Leafs try to do something sneaky dirty, they get suspended or fined, and everybody else gets away with it.
I think that's a fine case to make.
And
The
it
Leafs
is.
can't
They-
get away with as much
Anything.
because the spotlight's a little brighter. That's a fine case to make.
Well, that's the case I'm making. Like, it's a bang bang
But
play.
that one, though, Sam, to me,
Okay, you're like now.
Well, he's
now you're like
he's reaching-
league conspiracies
I am.
Versus
I am. I
my
am.
team.
no. There are a million stupid Leafs conspiracies, but the one that George Peros favors against the Leafs is not. That's just a fact. Like it is. I'm sorry. You guys don't have to say it. I will.
No, but
It's a fact.
I think
He hates the Leafs.
you're paying attention to the Leafs.
No, he doesn't.
If
He
we
does.
cover
He
the
hates the
Wild,
Leafs.
Does not hate.
Yes, he does.
He doesn't care.
Yes, he cares. He cares.
if
He
you
hates
were
the Leafs.
Why? Why would he hate the Leafs?
I
Give
don't
me
know.
a reason why he
Because
would hate the
everybody
Leafs.
hates the Leafs, Kipper. Everybody hates.
But,
Everyone who's not a
okay,
Leaf
all
fan
right.
hates him.
But they don't work
What do you
in
mean?
New York City for the
Yeah.
league. Everybody.
No, but he is the one who makes the choice. He talks about it. There's no way he didn't know.
So he's as jealous as every other fan who hates the Leafs.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I
That
think
your
the point
team.
people make is he played for Montreal. That's the point.
Yeah.
people
Oh
make
my
about it.
God.
I know.
I don't even remember that.
I know.
I'm telling you.
Sam, you're
if this-
ridiculous.
I'm telling you. If Victor Hedman does that, not a penalty. They don't even look at it.
See, I think it's just because you pay such close attention to the Leafs. If you're covering the Wild,
They've had the
and
most
Jared Spurgeon
suspension.
got a fine.
They're like the softest team in the league for 5 years, and they've had the most suspensions, the most. Like it's like there is something there, boys.
All right.
And if you both are looking at me and saying there's not, then you're just lying to yourselves. They
so
favor it.
how far are you going back here? Are you going back to Spezza, Winnipeg? Are you going
absolutely.
to?
Of course, I'm going to that. I'm going to Matthews with a grazing cross check off a guy's shoulder.
Where
who's
at the
Unbelievable.
outdoor game?
who's never looked at somebody funny. First thing, gone 2 games. Like there's a history
You're speaking
here.
of this is like those are the only suspensions or
Well, that's it.
But the Leafs-
situations.
but the Leafs have
There's a
led
whole
the
league
league-
going on,
but
but you
they've
don't
led
pay
the
attention.
league in
But you're
suspensions.
not watching the rest of the league. You don't pay attention to the rest of the league. You just watch your Leafs.
Everyone makes fun of the Leafs for being the softest team in the league, and they lead the league
Not
over
this
in
year.
suspension.
Not this year.
Well, I guess
No
they
one's
got
saying that this year.
Well, no, you're right. But it's the first chance they had to throw any sort
Yes.
of.
And you blame that on George Paros
do,
and
yeah.
not
I do, yeah.
Kyle Dubas.
No, I do. I do blame that on Paris. Yeah. So. Glad we got that out of the way.
All right.
I really do blame him. I do blame him.
Yeah. Anyway, I had this the argument on Twitter too, and people showing other hit. I think there's a lot
Yeah,
of
Pasternak
like
did the exact
people.
same thing.
Well,
and
it's not
nothing
exactly
happened.
the same. He's physically touching the puck for a reverse
It
hit.
was the same amount of touch. There was no. They're like their sticks are right there.
See, maybe
Bang,
you just
bang.
don't see it.
No,
you need
it's-
to watch those. Just one guy is touching the puck. and
To
another
quote
isn't.
the very, very popular show, The Office, they're the same picture.
You don't
Like,
watch the
it's-
game very well.
but that's actually a fair point. That like maybe I honestly feel like you need to watch those two and be like, tell me that guy's touching it and he isn't. There's some fan bias there, buddy.
For sure, but the puck is right there, and I am a fan. And the Leafs, who are the softest team, have the most suspensions and most fines.
right.
All right,
So-
we still have a ton to get into.
Sorry, we
including
spent 5 minutes yelling about that, but it's driving me crazy.
Jody Shelley's going to join us. You want a quick thought on Nick Robertson, Pacioretty, or
Pacioretty's probably worth the chat. Is that comes in, throws a couple
Yeah.
hits, shoots one in the net?
Yeah.
I thought every time he scored so far for the Leafs, it's been like, I can't believe that went in.
It's
you know,
just twice.
he's mastered the 50-foot
Yeah.
wrist shot?
And it does
Top
change how
shelf.
you perceive his game when you score, right? That's
Yes and no.
no.
Nothing's changed. Even if he didn't score that game, you saw him take a couple hits,
Yeah.
make hard-on forechecks. This is who he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
If they decide to keep him for the whole season, this is what you can expect.
Yeah.
In the lineup, out of the lineup, come in, maybe fill in a top 6, maybe drop down 10, 12 minutes, maybe more if there's some
he's
injuries.
content to do that, yeah.
Well, listen, he would never have come if he wasn't content to know that no one else is offering me a contract. This is it, or I potentially could shut it down.
Right.
If you're Berube, you see his first shift at the game last night, where I don't know who it was he got, but he went in hard
He's a big
and
guy.
just hammered somebody on the forecheck. And he's like, Berube's like, okay, this guy's trying to make an impact in the bottom half of the lineup.
Yeah.
He shoots one in the net. Like, I thought he was fine last
Listen,
night. Him and Stolarz are both big bodies.
Yeah.
Robertson.
I looked at the guy beside me at the last night watching Pacioretty go hard, and I'm like, this guy would have been a Hall of Famer if he played like this in Montreal.
Yeah. Right. You get that
Right?
element of it.
Like if he had that in his game plus the 30, 40 goal kind of guy that he was,
Yeah.
like that's the ultimate.
Yeah.
That's, Rantanen.
He wasn't terrible in his first few games with the Leafs. Was good for them last night. Really tough to pull him out of the lineup here. Ryan Reeves
No,
may
it's
have
really easy.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
easy. Yeah, you just keep everybody fresh and on their toes, and it's being pissed off is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
As
And-
long as it's not disruptive to the team, but it keeps everybody on their toes. And know that you're one bad game away from that guy coming back in the lineup because you knew he was good the night before.
Right.
That's called real depth. So that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah, it's motivating for everyone involved. Did get some offside stats for us. Last year, I think they had the 4th most offsides. This year, they're 24th in offsides per game. So they're
Definitely a different feel.
Yes.
That's something I would never
Thank you, Sportlogic.
ever have thought of. But it's true.
Yeah. But yeah, so Pacioretty, in terms of concerns, we've been super positive about the Leafs, I think, about pretty much everyone. Only concern right now for me, Benoit has not been great. You know, aside from dragging one into the net past Stolarz on the breakaway.
Listen,
Hit his head on the post.
Really like Timmins, though. Really like Timmins
just stay on your feet.
on that play.
Yes. No reason to leave your feet when you're that far out of position. That's the time you go, I really have a good goalie back there, and I'll just let him do his thing.
You know what I
Play
like,
the
though?
right way.
He came out of the net and Stolarz gave him a tap. I was like,
Yeah, and he said after the game, you know what happens.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't upset about it or whatever.
Nice play. Don't ever do it again.
yeah. Is that from something? Because if not, it's a great point.
It's a movie, Major League, about the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah.
But there's an F-bomb somewhere in
Right.
there. I'll let you figure out where to put it.
So where are we at with Robertson?
I like
really,
this game.
You're really hard on him for not scoring.
Yeah.
And I understand that ultimately his job is to
Well, he's not in there for his defense or physicality.
But he's skating so much better. He's,
great.
He's
no,
skating
but he's
better.
hounding pucks.
He's
getting
trying
pucks
his
back for
best
line.
for
no one cares about that.
for a little guy.
Okay. What? Okay.
But I
It's
mean,
the
sometimes
National League, Kippy.
Listen, the team's going well.
Okay.
You can keep. Listen, maybe you got to sit him out one game.
Not
and
against
bring him
Columbus.
back.
Not against
tonight's-
Columbus.
No, not tonight.
Tonight's
Tonight is-
Robertson night.
I
Bet
guarantee
him to score.
Actually, whatever I'm betting, we'll get that
fine.
in game time.
But
'cause that's a lock.
I don't have that big of an issue with the way he's played so far.
You talk about back pressure. A couple times last night, he's nipping at guys' heels. He's lifting sticks.
Yes.
He's. I really
I'm not sure,
like how he's playing.
I'm not sure when push comes to shove and you need to go up against a big team like Florida, maybe in the first or second round, that he'll be there.
Mhm.
But he's not holding you back. He's not hurting you right now. He's had a couple of decent looks.
And honestly,
Puck's jumped over a stick. He's missed the net, whatever the case is.
if suddenly Nylander went down or something, I don't hate the idea of saying, okay, you're going to play on the flank on the power play or something. Like he's not the worst option to have around.
And you keep his value up.
Over
You want-
under 31 trips to the dressing room mid-game for Chris Tanev this season.
But it's a given now, eh? We're just going to see him like limp.
He tied the Leafs record for block shots in a game last game, I think. It was.
Tis but a scratch.
Listen,
He truly is.
Last night on Leafs Talk, I
it's
said that he's like the Monty Python thing.
Yeah.
It's a flesh wound.
Yeah.
Like that's what he is. Like he just walking around with no arm.
Back here, I'll bite your
Shall
kneecaps off.
pass.
I know they're in Columbus and he's not listening, but if he was listening, hey, Chris, you don't have to block everything.
You're
a
up
flesh
4. Maybe let the
It's-
big goalie
It's
get hit.
October, pal. Okay? And you're not 24.
Guys
doesn't care.
Fans love a player who doesn't have an off switch, who can't halfway do it.
Until
I'm with you.
he gets hurt and people
Well, he's already been
say,
hurt like 3 times.
no, until he's out.
Okay. Yep.
Until he's out, and then everybody's like, well, what did you expect?
Right.
That you go from a hero to a dummy
He's missing
like that.
15
If-
games
if,
this
if
season.
you
Book it.
if you're out of the lineup,
The hand will be broken.
Yes.
I don't know when it's going to happen. Just hope it
But-
happens mid-season.
Early.
You-
You'd like it to happen in like January or
Yeah.
February. Yeah.
but you made the point too. Like it's a different feel back there with Tanev. He can skate a puck out.
Yeah.
He can make a first
He had a great
pass.
slip to the middle last game.
He doesn't panic back there.
It's going back on the pucks that jumps out to me after watching TJ Brody for
so
3
strong.
years.
Just hold guys off and make a little poke with
Yeah.
it. And
The play where him and Matthews, I don't know who it was that they tag team along the sideboards, picked the pocket and they made a pass to the middle of the ice. I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
That's
They're-
allowed?
We may be thinking of the same one.
That's allowed?
Jeez, that was well executed.
Yeah.
Fun
Okay.
to watch.
Yeah.
Take a quick break.
Yep.
And we return. Jody Shelley, broadcaster for Fox Sports. He called the game last night for Prime. We'll get his thoughts on the Leafs and what we can expect tonight in Columbus. Also on the National Hour, we'll welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers, MSG, and one of the top guys when it comes to knowing the goaltenders around. That and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. All right, from one of the quietest nights in the National Hockey League last night, just one game, we go to a very busy one. The busiest.
The most busy
Yes.
possible.
Yeah. In fact, what I'm told is they're going to start a game and every 3 minutes, another game starts.
Just
Starting right now. Jody,
Awesome.
get to work. We're dropping a puck. Let's welcome him in. Jody Shelley. How are you, pal? You tired or what?
No, not bad. How are you guys?
We're good. We're good. Tell us about your night last night as the only broadcaster of a National Hockey League game, Toronto and Tampa Bay on Prime.
Yeah. It was fun. I mean, I thought it'd be a better game. I think we all did, as Tampa and Toronto looked like they were pretty evenly matched. But, it just seemed like Tampa was out of sync. You see passes from Kucherov to Point or Hedman to Kucherov. You're looking for that highlight play. It just wasn't there. And it was I really thought Toronto played an excellent game, from the goaltending out. And I think that I don't know if Tampa wasn't ready for that, but they just seemed like they thought it was going to go a little differently. And the way Toronto came out in waves, the way that there was no whistles to start that game for the first 4 minutes, I think that's talking to Chief yesterday. He was talking about how Nylander wants to get out there early in the game. Like he wants him to get him going. And, to have a guy like Willie going early in the game and getting multiple shifts in a row and getting the rhythm of the bench, I think that really helped the Leafs. And I think, for Coop, it was that part of it overwhelmed them.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice anything different with the Leafs in general this year? Obviously, a new goaltender has been pretty good for them, but Tanev and OEL on the back end, some new additions up front. Any thoughts on if they're any different than previous years?
I feel like they're completely different.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel like, I think it starts with the attitude of the coach. And I always watch the Leafs from afar. I live in Columbus, and it's, I'm a hockey fan, but I love watching the big markets like Toronto, just to kind of see how the pressure's handled by the leaders, by the coaches and stuff. And I know a bunch of players that have played there, and it just seems like it's different this year. It's starting with that, with the locker room. And I know Chief personally, so you guys do too. And I give him a lot of credit because he makes you feel comfortable as a person first. And I think as a player, he can make you feel comfortable and uncomfortable in a really good way. And I think that, as far as the media, I know it's still early. I know it's going to get hot. I know there's going to be struggles. But just how he carries himself and has like a no-nonsense attitude and doesn't worry about too much throughout his day, or doesn't appear to, and he's got good people around him, I think that's where it starts for them. It kind of takes the focus, or maybe the pressure, or what's being talked about all the time outside that locker room, away from it, because he's really, simplified the way they think about themselves, and then the way they play. Like he's demanding. He's already figured out that, there's things that are in some of these guys' game. He calls it cuteness. That's not going to be there. And that's just how he is. And it's everyone throughout the lineup. And when he talks about the players, he didn't know them. He knew them from afar. He's really impressed with the work ethic and the drive of the top end guys. And the guys that came in like OEL, the way they play the system, he looks like he's refreshed, rejuvenized, and it's a simple way to play. And I think that's good for him.
Jody, they're in the toughest division in hockey in the Atlantic. You either beat them or you join them. And it just seems like now the style of play seems more conducive to success in April and May than it ever has before. And just your thoughts. I know you mentioned Tampa Bay briefly, but even the thoughts of Florida maybe getting back to a Stanley Cup final with the loss of two pretty key defensemen, Montour being the other one lost.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it's going to get really tight, right? Boston, Florida, Toronto, though, is in a different. To me, it's not just a conversation anymore. I think it's real. I think that they're going to have to worry about Toronto. I think that that's how the conversation has shifted. Florida, I think Barkov being out and a couple injuries early, you got to feel like they're still the heavies in that conference, that division. And then for me, Boston is one of those teams that, they're deep. They made the moves. They understand kind of the pieces that they have, and they have a group that understands how to play in April, May, and June. So I think they have a lot to prove. But I think for Toronto, everyone talks about the first round matchup. It's going to be tough. I think you guys were talking about it yesterday. Maybe Sam was talking about it, but it was like, yeah, that's how it's going to be. I mean, it's not like you're going to go to the playoffs and be like, oh, we earned an easy first round.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's what it takes. And you look at the teams that go through it, and Kyper, you did it. It's luck, it's health, it's bounces, but it's also like a certain way to play where you understand every guy going over the boards is carrying their weight for that shift. And I think that's the process that Chief is going through here with the Toronto Maple Leafs to say, and you look at Paul Maurice, you got to give him a tremendous amount of credit. I think we do, because he identified his group. He really handed that room off to the group early with his expectations. And when you get to that point early with a team where they drive it with their veterans and their leadership and expectations and setting the bar, then you have something to walk into playoffs with. And I think the really good teams use all 82 games to figure out what they need, where they fit in. And I think all three of those teams at the top have that.
So, Jody, tonight the Leafs take on in a back-to-back the Columbus Blue Jackets team you spend a lot of time covering. They picked up a couple of wins against some pretty decent opponents, beating Colorado and then beating Buffalo about a week ago. Where is Columbus at this year? A pretty young team, but seems like some guys have taken a step. I know Kent Johnson, I think, is not hurt, but he's a guy who's been playing some good minutes. Tell us about the Blue Jackets this year.
Yeah, they got injuries. Kent Johnson came into camp. They sent him down last year to get stronger and play more straight ahead because he had a lot of rock in his game, a lot of wobble, I call it, where he gets the puck and scans the zone, and next thing you know, he's smothered by players. But he's hurt. He's out. He had shoulder surgery last year, and he fell in a collision with another teammate in a game, and he's out. Branson's out with a shoulder. Boone Jenner, the captain, one of the best leaders, if not the best leader in the game right now, got hurt in practice after a great summer. That was in between training camp and game number one. So that's a huge hole. Their young guys have taken a step, but now their depth is really getting tested early. So it's like, you're slotting in guys in different areas. You're asking guys to take off more than they can chew. Tonight, the top line is Marchenko, Monahan, and they're putting Sillinger on the wing. He's been a centerman. They're going to move. Fantilli is going to be that second line center. And he's going to have Chinnikov, who's a shooter. That top line, Chinnikov was up there, but he's going to be a shooter on the second line. They want him to go. Like, he's a guy that can drive the game. Yeah. But right now he's kind of stuck in limbo. So he's one of those guys that we look to, and hopefully he has a game tonight. But down the middle of the ice, they're not bad. Their back end's okay, but just looking at the depth and asking guys like Juracek, a top-round pick a couple of years ago, who's had struggles to step in against the Leafs tonight, I think they're going to have to try to kind of cover him up a little bit.
Jody, you mentioned the injuries and, of course, the horrific, devastating, accident or, death of the Gaudreau brothers. What is a realistic expectation for this hockey club moving forward? Can they overcome a little bit of this to create a competitive environment, or is it just too much to expect anything this season out of Columbus?
No, I think I don't think it's too much to expect. I think with Dean Evason, his attitude, his approach to every day, the way he looks at his team and, has put up boundaries and expectations early. The tragedy that happened with the Goodrow family, we had a night here for opening night. I'm sure you guys saw it, where it was all about Johnny and his family, and the family was in. And, Monahan's his best friend. He didn't know if he'd be able to get through the whole ceremony. He didn't know if he could play. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of grieving, a lot of grieving together and pulling for each other. And Johnny, the way he went to the rink, the way he carried himself with joy at the rink. And there's a lot of moments, I guess, in the locker room where they would say, well, what would Johnny do? Or Johnny would love this. And they're doing that together. And I think there's something there that's helping this group grieve together and come together. If that sounds something that's possible, you can see it a little bit with this team. But I think that Evason and his drive and his expectations, where they had an off night the other night against the Minnesota Wild, he admitted they were tired after an emotional week with the ceremony and everything that was going on and kind of the schedule. He wants his horses to go. And the number one horse he has is Zach Werenski, who has thought he's been a leader, hasn't really been. And with Boone out and Gabranson out, now he's got to say things to put pressure on. And when you say things publicly to the media, it comes right back at yourself. You know what I mean? If I'm going to say we have to be better with the puck, our passes have to be better. Well, I better be number one at that at practice the next day and the rest of the week. And I think Zach is now putting himself out there in that position to say, we got to win our one-on-one battles. We have to have better pace, and our passing's got to be on. Watch him tonight. He's had a really good start to this year. He's explosive, and he wants to be a leader. And I think it starts with him on this team as far as they go.
Well, have a great call tonight. We sure appreciate you making the effort on a quick turnaround, working last night in Toronto.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I tried to get on
anytime.
that Leafs charter. to come here today. I just no room, I guess.
Oh,
I even said the stick bag.
They wouldn't bring you on?
No, I couldn't fit.
God, that's tough.
All right.
Well, thanks, Jody. We appreciate your time, man.
Okay, man.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
Yeah, he's
enjoy
great.
him on the
Yeah.
Dean Evason's scary.
He is.
Scary face, scary guy.
You know,
he scares me. Whenever I see him on the bench, he's just staring daggers at people. That's not a guy I want mad at.
Boy, it was tough looking at him though during the Goodrow ceremony, tearing up on the bench. And good friend of mine is an assistant coach there, and it sounds like it's hard for any team to go through what Columbus has gone through.
For sure.
Let alone a team that probably wasn't great anyway. To have this now, it's
but
uphill fight.
Somebody's, and I don't know if it's Dean or, anyone else in the organization, but somebody's got to go in there and say, boys, like, as cold as this sounds, like, move on. We got a business
for
here.
Hockey purposes.
Hockey business purposes, expectations of someone that buys tickets to come and support you. You got to get focused. We got lots at stake here. Mm-hmm. Including, your safety out there. You got to be focused and right there in that present moment.
Well, I think that's the hard part is still respect and honor and care, obviously, about something that is, so deeply meaningful and emotional, but that isn't the job, like you can't just then not do the job. So how do you, it's
an impossible situation.
Yeah. Like you can care about that, but this is...
But
you still got to play hockey here for 82 games, and
can't keep you from trying to get to that point.
They've had a couple good wins to start the season, so maybe they'll surprise you. What a story it would be if they, were good. Like,
and I would like to just say, like, they're hurt beyond that. Like this roster tonight, guys. Second line right wing is Michael Pythia.
Yeah.
What, I don't know. No disrespect to Michael Pythia, but
your stats night for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I mean, it's a back-to-back, and it's on the road.
Yeah.
But, boy, they need to handle business here tonight. They need a power play to shoot a couple in and just...
Columbus?
No. The Leafs need their power play to shoot a couple in and just...
Columbus just has to keep this
get
close.
To the finish line.
Just close. All right. Pretty good segment. We got stats involved. We had a Lou Brown quote.
Me crying about a player's safety.
All right.
Okay, I gotta go.
We got Steve Valiquette at the top of the hour. All right, we go national on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We're live and in color. Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. and coast to coast on Sportsnet. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. In a few minutes, we're going to welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG and CEO of Clear Sight Analytics. Just one game on tap last night was the Toronto Maple Leafs in Tampa Bay, where Anthony Stolarz outdueled the great Vasilevsky to the point where I got to ask Valley first question, like,
The formerly great, potentially?
what is going on?
With old Vassy?
Yeah.
What's he got
We've
for-
seen some signs in the last year where he's let in a few bad goals, but
He wasn't good when they beat him in playoffs.
like, he
was the reason they won that series. The Leafs.
and he was the reason why Tampa was not in that hockey game last night.
Think so?
Yeah.
Trying to find how many years he got left on that deal. Vasilevsky is until in the end of 2028. So he's got this season plus 3 more at $9.5 million.
Nobody, including me, stupid enough to write him off.
No way.
He's played a lot of hockey.
A lot of hockey.
Regular
lot of
season
losses.
and playoffs.
Did you take any consideration last night from Tampa Bay's effort that this is also a team that got devastating hurricane where it affected a lot of their homes personally? My understanding, there might have been a Tampa Bay player with a Lamborghini underwater.
Is that right? I mean, I hadn't heard any of that.
Well,
You know.
I hear things.
Would you like to go ahead and make that case?
I'm just saying that a lot of distractions early for this hockey club.
Was Vasilevsky's Lamborghini underwater?
I don't think it was Vasilevsky's
You're a
Lamborghini.
Tampa Bay hockey
But it
player.
could
You'd
have
have to
been-
drive your jet ski instead of your Lamborghini.
It could have been one of the players that maybe just recently purchased one off of a departing player who left.
No way.
His goals against average is underwater right now, that's for sure.
He got hit hard last night too, old Gensel. 878 save percentage for Vasilevsky this year. He was a 900 save percentage in 52 starts last year. So not a great year after years of 915, 960, 925, 917, 925, 920. So things last couple.
Where are
Couple
you
years here.
on the decision for Tampa Bay to go back to Ryan McDonough and make the decision to take Sergachev's
Do
$8
you
million
know
off the table?
How many 5-on-5 goals Ryan McDonough has been on for this season?
Multiple.
A lot.
Many.
You're
Zero.
telling me?
Zero.
Oh, okay. Then what? Then
Yes, I like it.
okay.
You teed it up weird.
Yeah, you tiered it upward.
I thought it was a ton.
How many?
Yeah.
He sucks. It's over.
No, he's been fine.
Yeah.
He's been more than fine. I mean, they're all right in the back end. Hedman's good. Chernak, when he's in the lineup, is good. They're okay. Little soft the deeper you get down that list or whatever. But
What? Why did Ottawa trade Nick Paul again?
the Ottawa and Nick Paul thing was very strange because it was
Cash.
clear he was available money. They couldn't
Money.
afford. God,
Ouch.
that's so dumb.
I-
Like, you can't
it's hard-
get money if your team doesn't
it's-
win.
It's hard to just say money because there's like, is it just money or is it we don't have the money or we're not willing to make the room to give you the money? Like there's a lot of
Right.
different factors here.
Sure, but like,
You have the money, you just chose not to give it to him or keep others,
yeah, it just was so obvious at the time that this was an effective hockey player who could help, who was at the time 25 when they got rid of him, I think. And
He's still only 29. He was traded for Matthew Joseph and a 4th round pick.
oh, we have an Emmy winner with us.
Oh,
All right, let's go to the Emmy winner.
Holy smokes.
Oh, it's game night.
There it is.
Oh, man, right in front of Madison Square Garden. Kip,
Looking
In
good,
the
pal.
studio tonight for the Montreal game.
how awesome is that?
All like quiet night last night. All 30 teams going at it. So that's why you're busy tonight as well. But what are your thoughts on what you kind of watched last night between Vasilevsky and Stolarz? Because it was a big part of the storyline. Yes, the Toronto Maple Leafs were better and well deserving, but I very seldom have we watched Vasilevsky take his club right out of a hockey game as we did last night.
Yeah, it's it has been a little while. I don't think he played his best last year either. And going back to 2 years ago in the playoffs, almost blew it. I think that Vasilevsky if there's one adjustment that I'd love to see him make, it's bringing his head down. Now, his head right now, it's very high. He keeps his chin up. And you guys can see me on camera as I bring my own hand underneath my face. I can't see it. And it's almost like part of the reason why I stopped playing lacrosse goalie was because the ball up there was a long distance from the puck being at ice level, and tracking a puck is completely different than tracking a lacrosse ball coming out of a stick. And to me, Vasilevsky still looks like he's playing lacrosse out there. He's got to get his head down because pucks are getting underneath him. And when we talk about tracking, that buzzword about seeing a puck, well, tracking is getting your head locked in on the puck. So it's almost like you can imagine that your eyeballs are stuck in your sockets, and the only way you can see it is if you move your head to do so.
Right.
And you've got to drop your jaw to be able to see those pucks that are coming underneath you. And if you don't, you're either going to get beat or you're going to be sloppy on a rebound. And then you're going to be late and have massive delay in first movement out of that shot. It really hinders everything in the process for the goalie. And for some reason, Vasilevsky's been stubborn with his head position. He's got to degree his head down.
Valley, is there a danger now because these goalies are 6'4", 6'6", that it's just a natural progression to look over people in their net when there's a scrum out in front, and that automatically pulls you up even more?
It's a great point, Kyper, and I could tell you've been paying attention to goaltending this season. You're looking for this stuff. And no, it's an issue because if you get too high, the puck comes under you. And for every inch in movement that you waste going up, you lose it going east and west. And now you've lost your explosiveness. That's a big piece to what we're talking about when we talk about tracking the puck. And of course, you must be able to track the pass. If you can do those two things, you can have a night like Shesterkin had in Toronto on Saturday.
Yeah, looking pretty decent. So at the other end of the ice last night from Vasilevsky was Stolarz. 5 starts so far, and he's been really good for them. So in the Leafs Hour, Kip says, all I want to know is, why hasn't it happened yet for this guy? Why is where?
I've got the best story for you, Bourne.
Okay. Yeah.
Where's he been, Valley? Let us know.
Oh, guys, you think I'm not working the phones before I come on the show? All right. So made some calls on Stolarz because I'm feeling the same way. I love the guy's game. I've been saying that since the first day. So I find out that he has a knee injury in 17-18 season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't rehabilitate well. And that's around the same time Carter Hart comes on the scene, and Philadelphia chooses just to move on from him. He ends up in Edmonton. They have the same issue. The leg is not rehabbing. You can look at his 2016-17 season. He plays 4 games, 3 in the East Coast League, 1 in the American League.
Right.
Barely plays for the next 2 seasons. And when he's in Edmonton, it doesn't go well, and they choose to kick him to the curb. Now, Edmonton doesn't have a great reputation with goalies, so keep that with an asterisk. Now, I find out that when Anaheim signs him, they visit him in New Jersey, and one of his legs, the injured one, is a third of the diameter of the healthy one. He had essentially been playing on one leg for 2 years. They were in shock. They brought him into Anaheim, rehabilitated his leg back up, and then he, you can imagine, had 2 healthy legs that he was been playing on now for the last 4 seasons. Look at his numbers. His numbers speak for itself. I mean, this guy's got a very impressive hockey DB. And I've heard amazing stories about his character, his family growing up, and it just all comes back in aces for this guy. So the only thing we don't know is, can he handle the pressure cooker? And it's gonna get hard at some point during the season. And we know there's a lot of voices that can enter, and hopefully he can handle that. But it was really neat hearing the background of him and hearing people just rave about his work ethic and how he really got screwed over to a certain degree by 2 organizations.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Valley, when you kind of signed him to the thought that Joseph Woll was going to get the first crack at taking this, and Stolarz can hopefully come in with maybe 30 games, and it doesn't work out that way, and now Joseph Woll's on the outside looking in. how much pressure is on the organization to still go, okay, let's not completely deviate from the plan here, because there's 82 games, but there's only a handful that you can go are signature games or games that mean something. Rangers Saturday night, Tampa.
Saturday night was a signature game.
Not Columbus, not necessarily LA coming in on the road for forever. And like, how does a team still now think the mentality? Because also the fact that he signed to $11 million contract for 3 years, you cannot deviate off of that either for Joseph Woll and the Leafs. So where does his start now play into where this moves forward for both Joseph Woll and Stolarz?
Well, you know what, Kyper? I would start with saying that, don't you think Stolarz picked the Leafs for a reason?
Yeah.
They have a chance to win. This is the best decor the Marners, Matthews, Nylander era has seen. And he knows he can play. He knows he just wasn't healthy. Imagine a doctor coming in and saying, your leg is a third of the diameter of the other one. Like, what are we talking about? If you don't have your legs and your core as a goalie, you're useless. And he knows, I'm telling you, this guy knows, like, I'm good. And you can put me up against anybody, but I want to be on this team in this market where everybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Woll, you know what? It's not the worst thing for him, because he'll have a slow burn into the season and he'll get his nice starts when he wants them. And hopefully, for God's sakes, he could stay healthy, but we don't know, guys. I mean, we only know what we have in the past seen with him. And that's the only predictor of what's going to happen in the future health-wise.
So, Valley, I know you have your own analytics company and the way that you look at these goaltenders, it's an interesting mix of who's been great in the league this year. Stolarz has been great, but then, other names like Shesterkin and Hellebuck, who we've heard of, we know of as stars in the league, have been good. What have you seen from some of the best guys? Who have you liked around the league so far this year?
You know what, boys, I'll start with my favorite newcomer, Dustin Wolf and Blomqvist in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I watched his first game, and it was against Detroit. And if you guys remember that, in the first weekend of the season, he has like 5 or 6 grade A saves where you're just like, where did this guy come from? And, you learn a little bit about his past, and he's a second rounder, and he's got a great history in Pittsburgh, playing in Wilkes-Barre, and et cetera. But man, I think his game's nice, as well as Wolf too. So he comes in at the number 10 goalie. By the way, nobody has faced a worse environment than the Pittsburgh goalies so far this year. Right. They've faced the highest degree of scoring chances, which is a big reason why Jari's going through it too. If they don't tighten up for him, maybe Blomqvist gets exposed a little bit too, because he's a young guy. But Alex Lyon is still playing at a top 10 netminder, and he's been an interesting story because he's always been able to come through as an underdog. So right now we have him ranked 9th. And then it's Sam Montembeault. And we have Sam here playing against the Rangers tonight. A very good goalie in screens last year. He, in fact, had the best save percentage on screens in the NHL last season. But in his last start on the 17th, he gave up 3 long goals against LA. So for what it's worth, Sorokin, your guy Sorokin is back, Borny. He's back.
Good.
And then, we've got Sorokin right now at number 7. And Lankinen, 6. And then rounding out the top 5, Gustafsson. He's really shored up his game. And you remember 2 years ago, came on the scene, guns a-blazing, has a bad year last year. It makes me always wonder why it's so year to year with every goalie. I feel the same way you guys do. I'm in the mix with this all day, every day. And I'm not coming up with any better answers as to why we can have an on year and an off year be so wildly different. And that's what happened to him last year. I watched a lot of video on him last year, and he's doing a lot of what a lot of goalies in the league are doing right now, which is sitting in their reverse VH when the puck is not a threat at the net. And then the puck goes to the slot. Like if I'm playing in the NHL right now, do you know what I'm doing? I want to make sure that I know exactly when every goalie goes down, because they all hit the deck at some point. Yeah. And they're doing, in some cases, like Vasilevsky last night, you could see Toronto going to the corner and he's down on his knees. Right. And I can tell you a quick story, and I'll get back to this list. When I was coaching right out of retirement, the goalie whisperer for New York that found Lundqvist, he got in touch with me and started sending me some guys, and I would house them at my house for a couple of weeks. One of them was Daniel Gibble, and this was a guy that played for the Barrie Colts. He's a Czech goalie. He was a really good prospect. He had an eye issue. He didn't pan out. But I'll never forget it. It was around 2011-12. The reverse was just starting, okay? So we're on the ice in the summertime. We're in Connecticut on the ice, and he's showing me all this back and forth movement on his knees. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't see it working. You got to be on your feet. How are you going to beat the pass? You're going to beat it on your knees? And he goes, don't you ever watch floorball? And I'm like, I have no idea.
Literally no.
You guys seen floorball before?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Giant
Have you
nets.
seen it?
I don't think
it's hysterical. So we get into the video room, and he starts YouTubing floorball. And he was a floorball goalie. And he's like, the technique in floorball is you stay down the whole time. He's on his knees. He almost looks like, he looks quadriplegic. He's kind of like just going around.
Right.
And I'm like, what is he doing? And he's telling me, like, this is exactly how I played floorball growing up, and which is why I'm now doing this as, a prospect. And with that, and I think I've told you guys about the success Bobrovsky had the first year doing it, where he didn't get scored on, so that anybody else cheated off of him. But the problem with this move right now is the pucks that are going to slot from below the goal line. Everybody's down and nobody knows how to track the pass. You have to have a violent head if you're going to be a good goalie. All right. And because we're on YouTube and on TV, you guys can see me here, but I'm really like bringing my head hard as soon as that pass comes. And then what would happen is I'd get a big separation, about 1.5 feet off my post, so then I can also gain the rest of my ice and be aggressive in my crease. But most goalies, as Kyper said earlier, are just picking up their head, and then they get stuck and they can't move. And there's wide open space on the far side of the net. And I feel like that's why goal scoring is up right now. It's because players have finally figured out how to abuse the goalies, not just on the reverse VH for bad goals against, but passing when they're down in the reverse VH.
So what you're saying is the bad goals that we've seen in the first 2 weeks will continue?
Look, we've seen an alarming amount of bad goals, and most of which are from the dead angle. And that's why, Kyper, it's not a good look, because those have a smell to them. The ones from the dead angle are the Georgiev ones. He's already given up 4.
Eesh.
Now, right. So the dead angle, just to describe it, imagine if you had a magic marker and you went to your post and then you went all the way to the bottom of the hash marks where it meets the boards. You really get a big slice of ice in the corner there. And right now there have been 10 goals in the first 2 weeks of the season scored clean from there. It's a bad number.
Yeah.
Now, the real issue for me is not knowing when to get in and out of it. And the problem a lot of goalies are having, specifically Georgiev, is that when the puck is getting close to them, he's getting beat in transition. He's on his way down and he's trying to get into it, but the puck's on its way. It's being delivered and it's catching him off guard. And that's the real issue. It's not knowing when to get in, when to overlap. I think goalies would be a lot better off if, in the gray area where it hasn't really crossed the line and got deep into dead angle, just overlap the post and play it like you would if you were Patrick Waugh in the 90s, early 2000s, and just get a big body on it.
Mm-hmm. Valley, did we get through your list of the 10 best goalies in the year?
Oh, we're going to go to number 4.
All right.
But we're skipping it until playoffs. Number 3, Shesterkin. Number 2, Ottinger.
Yeah.
And number 1, Anthony Stolarz.
Wow.
Yeah,
Leafs
I
fans
told you
not
guys,
used to hearing that.
I'm telling you, man, you got the best net in Canada right now.
That's bizarre to hear.
So where would Swayman be with his holdout and the ultimate cost of not being there to start, and where that kind of lines up with Boston's start this season?
So Swayman is even money right now, but he was the second best goalie in the NHL last year. Playoffs, second best. Shesterkin was number 1. So Swayman's been a top guy. Yeah. And the thing with Swayman right now is that, boys, it's so difficult to get your footing on a season as you're jumping on that moving train. I don't have to explain that to you. It's awful. It's just like coming back from an injury mid-season. You're trying to drink out of a fire hose. So the issue that Boston's having, and I sent Sammy McKee a note on this earlier today, if they continue to play the way they're playing, forget about the impact on Swayman, they missed the playoffs this year. They are not. Their record is so much better than how they're playing right now.
Really?
They are so lucky to even have, what is it, 2 wins that they have? Are they 2 wins or 3 wins? They have the fewest amount of scoring chances, you guys. They have 25 like grade A chances this year. 25. They've scored on 12, which is ridiculous. You never score on almost half of them. That's not going to sustain itself. It just never does. They go in 1 every 3 times. They have 5 bad goals. They've had 5 low danger goals. They've scored 5 bad ones. That's the most in the NHL. But they've been really creating zero offense. So they got a lot bigger in the offseason on D, right? Zadorov, and you look at their D too. Lowry 6'5", Lindholm 6'4", Zadorov 6'6", Peak 6'3". They've got trees back there. So they're really good at protecting the net front, but they're struggling on keeping their sticks in lanes on the east to west plays, and they're getting killed. They're 30th off the odd man rushes. So I don't see them with what they're giving up. And this is a team last year. Odd man rush, they're 30th in the league right now. Last year, they were 5th. And I've talked to you guys about this a lot. If you're a top 5 team at protecting your goalies off the rush, you're a cup contender. And in fact, that's where the Rangers are right now. So I don't see Boston. And you know who's really jumping off the page for me is Ottawa. But, you know, I'm listening to your show yesterday, Kyper, and you're giving me some feedback on what's going on with Allmark. What doctor was he getting advice from? Dr. Season Off? What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Oh, well,
I think we just heard he's not available tonight.
Night off.
Dr. Night Off.
Dr. Night Off.
What are we doing? Hey, I told you guys, and I'm not exaggerating, that's why I didn't want to be a goalie coach. I couldn't deal anymore. It's just not the way it was.
Yeah.
Everybody's so freaking soft.
Yeah, fair enough. So for next week, are we going to get the worst goalies, or what are we doing next week?
Yeah, so we're going to go bad goalies next week.
We are.
But I'll give you a little teaser. Who do you think the worst is right now?
Oh, God, I love it.
I would have gone Gorgiev, but you just shredded him already. I'm scared to bring his name up again.
It is. It's Georgiev.
Yeah.
And the second worst performing goalie so far is Stuart Skinner, and therein lies the problem with what has Edmonton in a really tough spot.
Well, we shall see tonight. 64 goalies added tonight.
Yeah, I guess.
16 games. Oh, my staff loves these nights.
Oh,
my God.
Not fun, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
You're going to be
it's a tough night for the boys, for sure.
real busy. As always, my friend, excellent stuff.
Thanks, Valley. Appreciate you, buddy. Have a great broadcast tonight.
Fellas, I'm listening, so I'm going to stay up on my notes, and I'll talk to you guys again next week.
Listen, I know you're not an insider, but how long can Rangers go without giving Shesterkin what he wants right now?
Hey, Kyper, I'll tell you what. Before the game Saturday night, I said to my co-host there, John Giannone, who does a brilliant job, I was like, John, here's what's going to happen. He's going to go out there like he did in his Vezina season to make a name for himself. He knows how big this moment is. He's going to get first star, and he's going to sign tomorrow. I was right on the first part. But you know what? I also wonder about this too, and I'm not kidding. I mean, okay, so I've talked to Hank about this because Hank was in negotiations for big money, and he insured himself. You know, and
really?
you can insure yourself up to the number that you might be trying to negotiate. So there is a little bit of, you don't have to worry so much about the injury or there being an injury because you can insure yourself up to the money that you anticipate signing for. So there's that piece. So that one makes me feel like, okay, I guess you could go a little bit longer if he chose to. But the other piece is playing well. And once again, I believe that he believes in himself the way that I'm telling you Stolarz believes in himself. And you don't become one of those top tier guys if you don't have that deep, deep, deep belief.
Just tough, Valley. All the best guys are signing for $8.25. Like, he's the best goalie in the league, but can you say you're $4 million better?
Well, and then here's the other side, Barney, that I think is just wacky. Okay, man, what do you want? 12, 13, 14? Then you got to win a Vezina and a cup this year. The only way you're getting it. So I don't know. I'd be happy to have the 11 if I was him.
Okay.
Is that going without saying?
Just one more on Shesterkin, okay? Because everything that I heard was that he is the most valuable player on the New York Rangers, not Panarin, and he needs and deserves more money than Panarin's older contract
Fair.
with the percentages of whatnot. But statistically, with your analytics, is it an easy sell for him to say, I am the most valuable player on this team statistically?
Yeah. So what a goalie can provide is goals off the ledger. And during his season, his MVP season, his Vezina season, he stopped 28 more goals than an average NHL goalie. So what does 28 goals do for you during a regular season, Kyper? It's a lot of goals.
8 points. I don't know, 6, 8 points, 10.
There you go. Like, that's what I mean. And so Panarin, 120 points last year. How many of his multi-point games became Ranger wins? I mean, you can do some math on that. I haven't done that exercise, but it looks like I got some homework for next week.
As always, my friend.
After I get in touch with Allmark's doctor, Dr. Easenoff.
Good luck getting a hold of him overseas. I think he's Russian.
Great stuff, pal. Have a great call tonight, okay?
All right, see you, fellas.
Yeah, thanks,
okay.
Valley.
Who the Rangers got tonight?
Habs. Sam Montembeau.
Montreal.
I got to tell you, Dr. Seasonoff is laugh out loud funny.
Oh,
that got me pretty good.
That could
Depends
be,
if you're an Ottawa fan or not.
No, it's not as funny
It's not
then.
funny at all.
Yeah,
that could be the line of the year so far. It's early, but let's give him the win on that one.
Quick note: during the time you guys were talking to Valley, Paul Maurice signed a contract extension with the Florida Panthers.
God,
You know how many years?
I think 2.
Would have loved to negotiate that one for him.
Fresh off a cup,
So
living in
easy.
Florida.
Yeah, that's a tough one to.
But the thing is, Paul's not
Hey.
looking to grind anyone at that point. He's having a pretty good time down there.
Oh no, you're grinding.
You think so?
Oh, there's no better time.
You and I
Here's the
think
Stanley
differently.
Cup.
Multi-year contract.
I'll fill it in. No
Yeah.
salary cap.
He's
No
just-
escrow.
What do you think? What would the number be?
Buddy, I'd be very disappointed if it's not close to $5.5 or $6 million.
Babs made 6.5. How can you not be worth that? Right?
Yeah.
But I know
I
coaches
know.
don't make that now. Like, I think the highest paid guys are 5.5 or whatever. But if you're Maurice, you're obviously that.
It did kind of pull back a little bit, I think. The market kind of plateaued the last few years. But I think he was in a position to take it to another level. But, it's Florida, no state tax, cost of living. I'm sure he did the math here to say that Bab's 6.5 in Toronto is still 5 and change here.
I bet she's 5.5.
Oh, good for him.
Glad we just decided what he got paid.
Good for him.
Yep. Way to go, Paul.
I mean,
way to
just
go, Paul.
Well deserved.
Way to go,
I haven't
Paul.
heard that in a while.
Take a break and then do game time.
You're the producer.
Anything
Good
off
boss.
anything off Valley that you wanted to talk about? Anthony Stolarz is the best goalie in the league. Is that something that's interesting to you guys?
Yeah,
Well,
it's interesting.
Can I
likes
remind
Kevin
you
Lankinen
guys
a lot, too.
that this is like 2 weeks
No,
old?
yeah,
Can
no
I
No,
calm,
games.
do not.
Can
No,
I
no, no, no,
calm
no.
you down a little
No
bit?
games into the season.
Yeah.
He's been awesome.
Take a chill pill.
Like I said, if the season was 6 games long, Brad Treliving would have had the greatest offseason of all time.
Yeah. Matthew Tkachuk's back for Florida as well tonight.
Nice.
He's missed 5 games with illness.
Oh,
Not sure.
All right, you
what's
want to
that.
go to break? We'll go to
Yeah,
break
let's go to
and then
break.
we'll come back with
Yeah.
game time and more news and notes.
and
From-
the most popular game ever. True or false? Maybe returning. After the
Oh,
break.
really?
Yeah, I came up with a few questions for you guys.
Okay, I got to psych myself up for that.
Okay.
Into
Into
the
it.
break. More Real Kyper and Bourne after these words. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. News and notes coming up. But first, Sammy, a little game time.
It's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds to find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So, few things for tonight. One that I talked myself into in our first hour. Nick Robertson goal tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets pays plus 375. Let me double check that. I think it's plus 375.
Okay.
Love that tonight. This is the night. Nick
For sure.
Robertson night is tonight. I could even see him getting 2, but 1 is plus 375.
Okay.
You got something to say on that?
Yeah, just, again, Craig Berube keeping things fresh.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to take Camp out of the lineup.
Put Reeves in.
I
And
like the idea
and
that
the
people who
beast
have been like
starts.
permanent fixtures are not necessarily permanent.
Remember how big a deal we made when David Camp was scratched last year? We made a big deal of it. That was Sheldon Keefe's like accountability thing.
Right.
And Ruben's like, that's the second half activity.
It's always
no
nice.
one cares.
Yeah.
It's always nice for any coach to do that when the team's winning.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It's not like as a response to some negativity.
Yep.
Negativity. It's like you haven't been good enough.
Holmberg.
Holmberg, though, stays in, eh?
Yeah. Likes Holmberg. The other couple things I have for tonight. Love a Connor Bedard anytime goal against his hometown team, the Vancouver Canucks, who are visiting Chicago. And I'm going to ride the hot hand with Ross Colton. Second in the league in goals, I think. 6 goals already this year.
Jeez.
Plus 260, playing on the top line with the big boys there in Colorado. Give me a Ross Colton goal tonight. And the NBA gets underway tonight. 2 games, Knicks, Celtics, and I think Lakers and Minnesota. Give me Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to win the NBA's MVP at plus 450 this season. He's going to have a wonderful year. Thunder are going to be one of the best teams in the league.
All right.
And he's a good Canadian boy. So plus 450 SGA MVP. And that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Good job, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kucherov leads the league in goals at 7.
Colton's 6, right?
Didn't get one last night.
What a fake pass into the middle for all point, though.
Yeah. Panarin's at 6. Cole Caulfield's a nice
He's firing it in.
Nice number at 6 as well for the Montreal Canadiens. Sam Reinhart is a name that's very familiar to 50 and 60 goal scoring in the National Hockey League, but Connor Bedard considered a slow start.
Yeah. Was he 1 goal, 5 assists, or 6 assists? I think he has 7 points, doesn't he?
But
yeah,
you don't want to see
7 points in 6 games.
You don't want to see 1.
No. Expectations for him this year. I was on a panel where people did point predictions, and a couple people said 100 points. I may or may not have been one of them. So yeah, maybe a little bit slower than expected.
He's over a point a game.
What's that?
He's over a point a game.
Yeah, he's on pace for 90 points.
They'll start going in for him starting tonight.
Yeah, but generational players tend to, in the second and third season, to take off.
You're anti-Bedard.
He's a little.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that.
I'm just saying.
Well, I'm not done.
What about his shifts this year, Kipper?
Maybe not sold.
Are we completely sold that
Yeah.
this guy just won't end up being
Really?
a superstar? That he
Rather
will
than
be one of the greatest in this modern day. I'm not completely over the top saying that this guy will end up having a career comparable to
Connor McDavid
or Crosby.
Okay, those are tough.
Yeah,
choices.
like in your defense, you're setting a bar of like, is he this?
Yes.
in his first full
Is he
season,
one of the 10 best players ever?
so in Connor's first year, 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
he had 48 points in 45 games because he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His second year has put a full 82 game season. He had 100 points in 82 games, 30 goals, 70 assists, and then he's played a lot.
I think 30,
30
30 and 7 for Bedard would be off the charts.
30 and 70. Oh yeah.
I'm just not sure he can get there with that team or necessarily he's physically ready for that
Boys,
just yet.
Connor's 12 points away from 1,000.
What's that?
Connor
McDavid
is 12.
By the way,
points away.
Connor Bedard was minus 44 last year.
Oh my God.
So
That's a
many-
tough hole to dig out of to start a career.
Career-wise, I don't know if you ever.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. When you're that.
What's he now this year?
+2.
Oh, he's starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him.
Going the right direction. Minus 42 career.
Wanted to ask you guys about the Tampa power play.
Yeah.
It's off to a slow start.
Mm-hmm.
It's worse than the Leafs somehow. I would say it's different without Stamkos. And I know that's a very obvious thing to say. But
I felt at the
Do you
rink
feel
last
that?
night, I felt no Stamkos for Tampa Bay.
me too, watching, I felt it. It's weird to watch them without it, and especially that power play because it worked with the threat of that clapper off the left hash, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And I can't help doing the Leafs hour that we do. It does sort of bring it around to the Leafs where it's like they haven't really had that threat. Matthews doesn't have that shot.
No.
He doesn't have the big one-timer. Like their power play doesn't have a shot from the top. It doesn't really have a big shot threat. And it does change things when the PK is always going, we just know we can't let it go there.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake Gensel is a terrific hockey player and one of the top wingers in the game.
That's the biggest butt setup I've ever heard.
The butt is there just isn't a presence like Stamkos had
Stamkos
on that team. I know.
Yeah.
And there's a void there.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy one to fill, even though you replaced it with a younger, talented player.
Probably equal point getter at this point.
But the void, the one I felt last night at the game and Sammy's referring to now, isn't an easy one to fix.
No,
or
it's not.
feel.
But I do wonder if that void would have been felt even if he was still around. I know he still scored goals last year, but you're going to get this decline from Stamkos sort of inevitably at this point of his career. But no, I know what you guys mean. It is one of the major threats they had that they don't have. Still, they're not the 30th or 27th best power play in the league. They're going to be the top 10.
They were snapping it around still last night. It just felt like they were missing the finishing touch.
Yeah.
That's been there for.
Well, they have been the perfect piece.
Yes.
They have been out of the box, by design, best power play possible.
Because it's like, Kucherov's going to shoot it. No, he's going to pass it right to the hardest shot in the league.
Right. And Hedman and point in the middle, yada, yada.
All right, boys. Let me do some true or false time.
I think I do want to do that.
Okay. I'll start with this one. True or false? 6 Canadian teams will make the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Such a high number. So only Montreal out.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. False.
Yeah, false.
Okay.
But hold on. Let's answer the question he's asking.
Yeah.
Which are the ones?
Calgary.
Calgary's not getting in.
I still don't see them coming in.
I don't see them getting in either. I got called. I actually had people adding Sportsnet, like Greg Sansoni gets those messages or something. It's like, this guy.
This guy's he's out to lunch.
You seen this? Yeah. But no, I don't think Calgary gets in.
And
so how many?
Is Vancouver?
5. Ottawa and Winnipeg.
Is Vancouver a lock for you?
Yes. Not for you.
I don't know where the goalie is.
Lankinen. Lankinen's the goalie of the future.
He's hanging it with Dr. Seasonov.
All right. Lankinen's going to lock them in for sure.
He is.
Okay.
And Demko didn't die.
Yeah. Yep.
Did
So
he?
we'll see.
Listen, you're out until you're back in.
I like that attitude.
Okay.
Yep.
That was a pretty quick one. Easy. Here's one for you. John Tortorella will finish the season as the head coach of the Flyers. True or false?
Great one, Sam. Flyers, where are they? First thing you have to ask is, what are expectations for the Flyers? Did they expect to make the playoffs this year? And I think the answer is no. Right?
I mean, they were pretty close last year with a worse team.
My expectations are a top 5 pick at the draft.
That's what you were going into this season? That's what you thought they would be?
That they would be 25th or 26th best team in the league.
They are 1-3-1, -8 goal differential. I just look at that lineup, and I know that owners don't often look at their lineup and go, well, we just had a stinky team, and blame the GM or whatever. That doesn't happen very much. Easier to change the coach, but
take a look at what
Brink and Farabee and Paling and Cates.
Take a look at what Philly has at the draft table coming up.
Okay,
like it's good.
It's good.
3 first rounders.
How do you look that up right now?
I got it right now.
You know how to do that now? I don't know how to do that without cap friendly.
Oh, I'm cap wages.
Cap wages?
They got cap wages right now.
Okay,
it's cap friendly replica.
A boatload of first and second rounders.
Next year, or this upcoming draft, they have Philly's first, Colorado's first, Edmonton's first, and in the second round, Philly's second, Anaheim second, Columbus second. 6 picks in the first 2 rounds this year.
3 and 3.
Really?
3 first rounders, 3 second rounders.
She's there. Loaded with picks. They got
loaded.
They have every pick of theirs
and
for the next 3 years.
That's the way it should be when you stink.
And they have 2 top bottom 10 teams in the league in the first round picks, Colorado and Edmonton too. So they could be really good picks.
And to come full circle on your true and false question,
yes,
Tortorella ain't going anywhere.
So very
unless
true.
John Tortorella wants to go somewhere.
Okay. Losing's not fun. Maybe
this guy, he's tied right to the top.
Okay.
To Jones and Briere and
past.
Dave Comcast.
Hey, this guy's getting free cable.
Whoever the owner of the Flyers is.
Do you get free cable cover? Anyways,
no, not here.
True or false?
They do help.
Sam Bennett will sign a long-term contract with the Florida Panthers.
True.
Okay.
I'll say false.
Why?
Well, are they just going to give 8-year contracts to all the guys they won cups with and expect no one's going to decline? They're going to get the same.
Yeah.
Like, you think Sam Bennett's going to keep smashing through people.
Yes.
What's he going to cost? $8 million a year?
Sure.
8 times 8 is $64 million to Sam Bennett.
7 years. That contract's going to look no problem in 7 years.
His best buddies.
6 years.
I heard.
I do admit to just wanting to disagree on something a little bit here.
I hear he's
okay.
best buddies with Anthony Stolarz and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They're already texting him, telling him, you know, it's Toronto. It's not as bad as you once thought. God, he'd be beloved here.
What do you get?
Oh my God, he would be. They'd have a statue of him on Legends Row.
I know he's from here, but you want to go to the rink
No, you want
in
to go
flip-flops or you want to go in boots?
There's no question. On a golf cart and go play 36 after practice.
Did you watch some of that Amazon doc and see Kachuk's?
I got to tell you, I don't want to crap on it, but I had a tough time getting through some of it. But
Yeah. Not going to say it was a thrill ride,
Yeah.
but
You know what? Amazon just needed more hockey people in the editing room, I think, because I
just
bet
felt like
you
they're-
some good stuff ended up on the floor. And
just
you know.
felt like, the best things we've ever seen documentary-wise were the Road to the Winter Classic, and you had the drama of the teams winning and losing and going with them to this eventual conclusion rather than, like, kind of getting to know people, which felt like this. So the Tkachuk one, though, tough to look at his life in Calgary
Yeah.
and then see him driving a golf cart to the rink in Florida and not be like,
yeah, you know what? That's probably a good
tough luck for the Canadian teams.
yeah, I think I made a good decision.
Yeah.
So true, and you just said false. Just to be different.
Just being contrarian.
True or false?
The Flyer one we're still on?
No.
Which
Sam
one?
Bennett.
Oh, Sam Bennett.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So true or false? Somebody other than Connor McDavid will lead the league in points.
False.
Can't see it.
Okay.
Can't see. You know what kind of bad year Connor has to have to not win?
But, dude, Cooch had 44 and 100 last year. He had 144 points.
And he's up to a hot start.
He needs to, if McDavid gets hurt for a week, it's tough to keep up with that.
He's not doing that again. That's just a
Cooch isn't doing that again?
no.
Yeah,
That one was off the charts.
I do.
120 is fine. 125.
Yeah, he could be 120.
but those numbers.
Yeah, you're right. No, McDavid's the guy. He's the guy. Unless you're betting on him to get hurt.
This is looking down the road a little bit here. True or false? Austin Matthews will lead America to victory at the Four Nations face-off.
True.
Oh, you are bad patriot. False.
Yeah, you're just. Can we just see the lineup first?
Okay.
Here's the lineup.
Okay.
Hellebuck, Demko, Ottinger.
Not Demko's.
Okay. Hellebuck, Ottinger. There's like 5 from the
Stolarz.
U.S.
Bennington.
Okay.
You're the backup.
Who's the goalie?
Montembeau.
Aiden Hill, cup winner.
And Aiden Hill.
In the cup. I actually think it, not to do Toronto stuff in the national, but the only team that plays.
Never shopped you before.
It's going to be fascinating to see how the perceptions of, for example, Marner, who you say is the way he's looked upon in this market. He's going to play for Team Canada. He's on Team Canada. He is a lock for Team Canada.
Bubble guy.
Okay.
No way. He is a lock.
Listen.
So, but like, if he's great for Team Canada, what will that do for his perception here?
Okay, first of all,
this guy's just being such
bubble guy, Marner.
He's going to be playing under the second line.
You know who's going to pick Marner?
Crosby and McDavid. No, Crosby and McKinnon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just spent like a week with them before. What do you think the conversations were?
Yeah, he's on the team.
He's on the team,
Hey,
but
buddy his way in there.
So the better question
Hey.
is true or false? Mitch Marner leads Team Canada to glory at the Four Nations face-off.
true or false?
Uh-oh.
Nate McKinnon was recruiting come July.
Oh boy, true. 100% true.
100% true.
No question.
Recruiting, what does that mean? Asking him to come? Like
Yeah.
it's.
Yes.
What did you guys think Mitch gets to pick? Yes or no?
No.
Well, if he's
to
if he's a free
July
agent,
1st.
If he's a free agent, yeah, he literally
to
does.
the Avs, not Team
Yes.
Canada
No,
anymore.
not to Team Canada.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes.
Sure.
That's-
Breaking. Good player wants other good player on his team. Good players want to be on the same team.
No,
Yeah,
no.
you wanna-
Hey, Crosby loves Marner.
Yeah. Do you want to get yelled
Loves
at every
him.
time you have like a carb? Playing with McKinnon would be such a drag. Anyways, what else do I have here? There's a couple more Leaf ones. I don't want to get too bad. Utah Hockey Club makes the playoffs in their first season in the NHL. True or false?
I guess I'm feeling spicy today. Like, no, I'm actually kind of like,
They're still the Coyotes to me, damn it.
well, I'm just like a little, everyone's like very excited about Utah. And I still look at their roster and I'm like, I don't know. Clayton Keller is your captain. And
I really like him.
I
love
like him.
Keller.
So I didn't mean that to be a Keller thing, but like, I go through their lineup and it says, okay, Cruz and Kraus, McBain, Kerfoot, Stenlund, Yamamoto,
Flexi.
Palamaki, Bortuzzo. I don't know. Like, I'm just not as sold as everyone else on Utah.
I'm not sure about their goaltending either. But
I like
Jersey's out.
Long term.
That hurts.
When is the Liljegren to Utah announcement?
He's a great fit, for their right shot D.
They need it.
third pair guy they could use.
There's no reason to do it now.
Well, I don't know. They have Vladislav Kolyachonok.
Unless
there right
the
now.
team
Easy for you to say,
Yeah, he's
Bubba.
unless the team wants to overpay, there's just no reason right now.
There's no reason for the Leafs to do it.
Yes.
They don't need the space. He's a good depth guy to have. Unless the team wants to overpay.
All right, last one. True or false? Anthony Stolarz receives Vezina votes.
Oh my god. Wow.
Oh, that's the exact reaction. Speaking of fishing.
Yeah.
Well, career year?
Yeah.
Is
The
there
finalists are going to be
you.
Lankinen, Stolarz, and Wolf.
I love
false,
doing this show.
Or is there like a middle? Is there a possibility? Maybe.
No,
You got a
true or
maybe in there?
false?
No.
True or false?
I'm playing the percentages, so I'll say false.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. So
Okay.
tonight is the Frozen Frenzy 16 teams. Gaz and I are on the TV with DA, and we were asked to draft our most interesting games from tonight. Just a little list of what you're in for. Tampa Bay, New Jersey, pretty good game.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. Colorado's got Seattle, Carolina, Edmonton. Toronto's got Columbus. Let's look for Canadian teams. Vancouver has Chicago.
That's
Ottawa, Utah.
like I like Vancouver, Chicago. Love watching Bedard.
Calgary, Pittsburgh.
So what's,
Great jersey matchup.
what's the deal
Elite.
now? There's the first puck drops like in 5 minutes, isn't it?
6:45, 6:30.
So 6 p.m. 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
6. Oh, it
Yeah,
is.
and then
Okay.
what?
Mitchka versus Ovechkin.
Is it like
Yes.
Is it?
Is it?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, I got it.
is it like sitting at a bar and telling the waiter bring me a beer every 7 minutes kind of puck drop?
Just keep going.
Well, you remember last year, the Leafs were in the first game on Frozen Frenzy.
Oh.
They played the Caps in the very first game. Remember, we did the show and then we ran out of here.
And I did a 15-team parlay, and I went 13 for 13, and then had it ripped away from me in the last minutes for $31,000.
So is this like the only time of the
$5
year?
bet.
Is this the only time of the year this happens? All 32 teams
This
going?
is it. There's a few times where 30 teams play. This
But
is the
why,
only.
why now? Why do you go from one game to like
I
all
think
of
they
them?
ticked the NBA head on. They said, it's your opening night. Watch this.
Oh, that's a bad move.
Disagree.
Does anybody like the Knicks or Celtics or Lakers?
Does anyone like Utah, Ottawa?
Oh, true or false?
I'm excited about it. Anyway, we're on TV next.
Okay, our thanks to Jody Shelley in our first hour of our Leaf Edition show, and then Steve Valiquette. If you're just catching us right now, download us because he had some fascinating stuff. Enjoy your 16 games tonight, and we're back here tomorrow to talk all about them on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Have a great night, everybody.